Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Howard Heller. I'm the president of ActuaryExamTutor. As I was speaking with Emily a little while ago, she was asking, why I do these. A lot of big reason why I do this is really to kind of share my experiences with everybody. I think when I was in college, I majored in actual science, and that was a long time ago. But I don't know if you really know a lot about the profession until you do it. And I like speaking with people. I've done like so many phases of actual science. I started off, I majored in actual science at New York University. I started taking exams while I was in college. Then I worked. My first job out of college was at Buck Consultants. I'm sure most of you have heard of them. I also worked at a big insurance company in New York called Home Life Insurance Company. And then I actually went off, I went back to graduate school. I got an MBA and really with an idea to be an entrepreneur. Even from a young age, I always had a desire to kind of start a business. And, really what I'm doing with Actual Exam Tutor is taking the skills and the experience that I've gained along the way and incorporating into a business where we could help people try to be successful in this profession. And a lot of beginning starts with passing these exams. So that's that's one of the reasons for these meetings I like to have with schools, and I like to share information. Hopefully, you might have questions to ask me. Hopefully, I'll share some information that could help you in your decisions of what you want to do. So, again, just to start off my talk about myself and I'll lead into things. I went to New York University and, like I guess everybody in actual science, I was good in math. So I was trying to find something that would kind of fit my skill set, I guess. And actually my sister, who was she was 2 years younger, 2 years older than me, but she was 3 years ahead of me in school because she had skipped a year. She started taking actual exams. That's how I first learned about it. And I said, oh, here's a profession where you need to be good in math. And when I went to school, and we'll start with this, the demand for actuaries was so much greater than supply. I mean, even today, I kind of joke around about it that if you ask somebody, do you know what an accountant is? And they said no, you would think this person's a moron. you know but if you ask somebody what an actuary is and they say no, you still think, oh, it's still very specialized. There's a decent chance they still don't know what it is. So it's kind of interesting, like still so many years later the actual science profession is still very specialized. But when I went to school, there were a lot of you knew that there were going to be a lot of job opportunities when you graduated. In fact, in those days, you didn't even need to do an internship. Now, it would have been good from the standpoint of, maybe working in a company, seeing what it's like, and maybe you want to work at that company when you graduate, but it was not necessary at all. Okay. I know now, and I've been running this company now for 21 years as part of it. That internship is critical. And like that's one thing I wanted to bring up initially with people who are wondering, like, what should I be doing while in college? If you're interested in pursuing the actual profession, I'd say the three big things you want to do, in my opinion, is pass P, pass FM, and get an internship. Possibly get two internships. Number one, the companies really like these internships. And number two, you get to learn about what the actual science profession is really about, working there, see if you like it. Also, maybe you could work at a consulting firm in one of the internships, work at an insurance company, maybe in another one, and then decide for yourself, what's best for you if you're interested in the profession. Now, I'll tell you, in my opinion, one of the biggest reasons why you want to start taking exams while you're in college is to really learn what they're about. Let me ask you, people here, how many people have taken exams? So, so let's assume, let's just, whether you have or not, if you have not, I highly recommend taking them. Number one, obviously, because it's going to give you leverage with your resume. It opens up doors. Number two, it's very important to take these exams to see what is really the difficulty level of them for yourself and how hard is it to prepare and pass them. Because, I talk to people and they say, well, I'm taking a lot of classes in school right now. I really don't have time to prepare for the exams. And my answer to that is, well, what's going to happen when you start working? Because you have to manage going to work every day and, doing a job, performing, getting good reviews from your manager, but also preparing for exams. And you work 5 days a week. Most people in college do not go to school 5 days a week. I know when I went to school, there was only one semester I went to school on a Friday. It was always Monday through Thursday, and that was it. And there was a lot of free time actually. So when you're in school, you take exams to get ahead in the profession. So you have a good chance to get an internship, hopefully get a position upon graduating, but also learn about the balance of taking exams and other schoolwork in this case when you're in school, and also see how difficult it is for you to pass these exams, because there's a lot of exams and you really have to pass them, to be really successful in the profession. And you don't want to, be in school and not take them. And then once you graduate, you start taking them, you're like, wow, these are really hard. I'm really having problems with them. You know what I mean? Like, try to find out while you're in school, in sophomore year. I would recommend taking while you're in sophomore year and start feeling, okay, can I take these and be successful in them? How hard is it for me? Am I passing on the first or second sitting? Start learning these things about the profession, because this is one of the few professions out there, maybe the only one, where the exams really last for a long period of time. You know what I mean? Even CPA exams, there's some of them, but then there's a timeline that you usually get through them. With actual exams, there's no timeline. I mean, they could go on for a long period of time. So I think get to know yourself and get to know about the exams while you're in school. And again, in 2024 versus when I went to school, these companies, they want to see if you could pass these exams, to get internships and positions coming out of school. When I went to school, if you pass an exam or two, it was like you were like a god. It was like, wow, I remember when I left college and I was about to start working for consultants, I had just taken an exam that I passed. So I guess technically I had two exams coming into work. And in those days, it was like, oh wow, Howard has two exams passed. I was at the peak of the mountain. You know what I mean? In today's day and age, two exams is like, it's kind of like a given if you want to be in the profession. And I'll bring up another thing. A lot of people ask questions like, how many exams should I take while I'm in school? And a lot of times people say, oh, you don't want to take more than two. I personally totally disagree with that. I think that maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that was the case. But now students are taking these exams as freshmen and sophomores. And one of the ways you can get ahead is to pass exams. That's the one good thing about these exams. You have control in them. If you're willing to put in the work, and you have the ability to pass them, you could get ahead on your own, not having to worry about, companies liking how you interview or liking your resume. You have full control, taking these exams and try and pass them. And in my opinion, P and FM, and then you have a decision then which way you want to go. Do you want to go on the SOA route, or do you want to go on the CAS route? So you might take FAM, or you might take MAS1. It's your decision. Hopefully you learn along the way which road you want to go on. But I would recommend, in my opinion, in 2024, at least three exams coming out of school to really give yourself a great chance to get, really good opportunities, because that's what you want. You want to graduate with really good opportunities. And that comes to my next point I want to talk about is, a lot of people ask questions like, should I go on the insurance road? Should I go work at a consulting firm? Casualty? Like what's the best road for an individual who wants to enter the actual profession? And I would say this, when you compare insurance to consulting, and I worked in both. I mean, when I graduated college, I started working at Buck. So I was working consulting firm, then I worked in an insurance company. And I would say one of the biggest differences, at least when you start, is the pressure they're going to put on you to pass exams. That's when obviously the work is different. When you work at a consulting firm, you're dealing with clients, and depending on what type of work the consulting firm does. Like I was in pension consulting, so I was dealing with pensions. But when you work at a consulting firm, although they vary how much pressure they put on you, but a lot of times if you're good at your job but you're not great at passing exams, they're going to still give you opportunities to grow within the company. But in insurance companies, they want you to pass exams. They want you to get that FSA. An insurance company, a lot of times you're going to be in a rotation, and to go from like one area to another, and to stay in the rotation, you need to pass a certain amount of exams, and they're going to put you in probation if you're not passing the exams, and you will be out of the rotation. And once you're out of the rotation, I mean, some companies vary. A lot of companies, once you're out of the rotation, you're also out of the company. You know what I mean? It's not like, okay, well, you're not in the rotation, but we'll still keep you. Because there's so many people that want to fill those spots. And as I think Andrew said before we started this, there's more people wanting jobs than there are jobs. So there's a lot of people coming out of school with really good resumes. They pass a number of exams, and if you can't meet the requirements, what they want, they're going to find somebody else that can. And I tell you, that's just a big difference. Just going back to when I got out of school. When I got out of school, I know like Buck did, I think a lot of companies did. They hired so many people coming out of college, okay? Like a lot. Like I remember when I was working at Buck, there were so many people that were in their first year, working there as at a school. And I think the attitude was, we're just going to hire a lot of people, and we assume that, some people will make it, some people won't, some people will stay in it, some people want to go back to graduate school, and, we'll have a certain amount left that will stay here. It's totally different now. Companies hire you with the idea that you're staying, okay? It's not like, well, we'll just hire 50 people and 20 of them will stay. The idea is if they're hiring you, the expectation is that you're in it because you want to be in it and you're going to be successful in it. And I think that's one of the reasons why they view these internships as so important. They want you to see what it's like. They want to see what you're like, but they also want you to see what it's like. They don't want to hire you and then a year later, after they've given you training and everything, and they're assuming that you're going to be with the company, that you say, okay, you know what, I'm going to go back to graduate school. This is not for me, or go into something else. They didn't want that. They don't want the turnover. Years ago, when I got out of school, they were okay with the turnover again because it's always about supply and demand with everything, right? It was the same thing back then. The demand for actuaries or people coming out of school who want to be actuaries was so much greater than the supply that a person like myself coming out, they didn't question me. They weren't challenging you. Oh, do you have 2 exams passed? You did an internship. They were just hoping they had people that wanted to go into it. You know what I mean? It's just so different now. Now, comparing the SOA side to the CAS side, again, I was never on the CAS side. I mean, I've spoken to people, over the 21 years of running this company, I've spoken to a lot of people, and I think casualty, what I know, it's somewhat better salaries. I think the work is known to be a little bit more dynamic because when you're working for an insurance company, it's insurance. It's based on the same mortality tables, the same experience, basically the same experience you have over and over and over again. So there's not a lot of deviation, variation in what you're looking at. When you deal with casualty and rating things, I think there's a lot more diverse dynamics of what's going on. And I think that maybe that's why the salaries might be a little better. Maybe you need a little bit more, you know, creativity, maybe even a little bit stronger math skills for it. You know what I mean? Obviously, if you're an actuary, I don't care what you are, you need really strong math skills. But I think with casualty, there's just it's just different historical data that you're looking at, and it just impacts how you're able to how you do the work. So in just comparing those three, consulting, insurance, casualty, it just depends what you want, especially I would say casualty and insurance can be more standard hours. So if you like that, if you want the standard hours, but you're willing to do the exams, right? Then you want to go that side. If you're like, well, I don't mind working later hours. I just don't want all that pressure of passing exams on me because I know I've had some problems passing exams. I think I'm a better worker than I am an exam taker. Then it might be better to enter the consulting side because again, like even Buck, for what I know now, they still don't put that much pressure on you to pass exams. I mean, it's the way it is. Now, other companies might be a little bit more stringent what their expectations are. Like I know Emily, you were saying you're gonna be working at Willis Towers Watson, and I'm not sure what their culture is there, but generally insurance companies are just much more stringent about passing exams than consulting firms. Just the way that it is. Now, a lot of questions too, and this is really interesting how it's changed a lot since I got out of school. A lot of people say like, well, you have data science out there and you have actuarial science. Like which route should I take? Because the data science does not require exam taking, right? So you're like, well, if you can have a similar jobs, like why do I want to go on the actuarial track when I go on the data science track? and I don't have to be involved with, also taking exams. Now, I have a partnership with D.W. Simpson. I've gotten to know Patty Simpson really well, and I've asked her these questions because she deals with, the job market and careers all the time. And she's told me that the actual track, you just have a lot more opportunities down the road. Data science, you're right, you don't have to take exams, which is good unless you like taking exams. Some people do like taking exams, but if you don't like taking exams with data science, that's be a benefit, but the opportunities you have down the road is more limiting the actual science because once you get your designations, once you get your ASA, your ACAS, or your FSA or FCAS, it gives you opportunities to sign off on things and do things that you cannot do if you don't have those credentials. So in getting the credentials, it's going to give you opportunities. So obviously, that's one of the reasons why these companies want to get the credentials, because once you have the credentials, you're able to do work, sign off on work that you cannot sign off on if you don't have. It's like, it's like a lawyer, right? You can have a lawyer can do certain things that a lawyer assistant cannot do. So it's the reason why, people pass the bar exam, they become lawyers because they have that much more authority in things they're able to do. So, that's the case. And you know what? And I'll tell you something, that's another thing I want to add to it. Besides passing P and FM and getting an internship, if you could get some really good computer skills while you're in college, it's huge. And the three skills I really want to have if I was in school right now would be R, SQL, and Python. R is becoming really big now. And if you could walk into an interview and you have those computer skills, they're really going to like it because they know that you can walk into a job and start doing things immediately. They want those computer skills. I mean, obviously, on a resume, hopefully, somebody can do Excel and Word. I mean, if you don't have those skills, it's a problem. But having like R, these things are really going to stand out for people. So I highly recommend you get that under your belt if you can, while you're in school. Because again, it's all about getting leverage within your resume while you're in school, such that you have as many opportunities as you want upon graduating. So that is something that and I think that's the reason why data science has become so popular now, right? Because if you go back years ago, before you had all these software products, unless you had a really, really solid math foundation, you couldn't do this work, right? You couldn't do it. Now, with all the software out there, you don't have to be an expert in statistics. You could use software, come out with, have the computer punch out the numbers for you, and you could analyze it. And you don't have to be a person that could do statistics from ground up. You go back years ago, people were doing actual science from the ground up. You didn't have all the software to kind of help you along as almost like a crutch. So I think that's one of the reasons also why data science has become so big, because a lot more people can do it because you have all the software out there that kind of helps you a little bit along the way, when in past times you had to have tremendous math and statistics skills to be able to do any of this type of work. And that actually brings me to another point I want to talk about, which is a really big advantage now with actuarial science than maybe what it was years ago. When I was coming out of school, actuarial science was really, like, I would say, still looked upon as a back office type of profession. Now, obviously, you had to be really smart to do it, but it was still like a back office thing. In fact, I still remember this. When I was at Buck, I was asking people, like, who are the consultants at Buck Consultants? You know what I mean? And they were like, at Buck, they had a system from level 6 to level 1. They still might have that system. The level 6 were like the entry level people, and the level 1s were the main consultants. And I asked people, like, who are the consultants of Buck Consult? Who are the people who are going out to big clients, right? And to my surprise and actually disappointment, most of the big consultants at Buck, from what I was told, were the attorneys who had gotten their EAs. They became enrolled actuaries. So they passed the EA exam, so they were able to sign off on certain things, and they combined that with their law degrees, and they were able to be the consultants at the companies, and they were like the leaders there. They were doing the big time work, the best work. And I felt like, here we're studying for these exams, and everything. And it's not fair, really. I mean, I'm going to go into the actual profession. I'm going to be studying for all these exams, and at the end of the day, it's the lawyers who are going to be who are going to be the consultants, and I'm going to be like the understudies to them. So I ain't think that was fair. But I would say this: I think in 2024, actuaries are not looking nearly as much as like back office anymore. I think there's a lot more opportunities for the in the actual profession. I think a lot of people that go into actuarial science and go into the profession, you go into a company and they're looking for you to become the leaders in companies. They're not looking for you to be like the back office people anymore. They know you're smart and they're expecting you, I think, not even wanting you, expecting you to become like kind of like, big forces within the company. So, for people that want to be in actual science, but they also want to have opportunities within a company to really have leadership positions and maybe, go from one thing to another within the company and really have a lot of opportunities. I think actual science is different now than it used to be. I really think it's seen as differently. I think probably they feel like people just better communication skills now, and not again just not the back office people anymore. Of course, there are people that just want to do back office. They're happy just doing the numbers and everything and dealing with that. But there are a lot of people who don't want to just do that. They want to move up. And moving up a lot of times is taking on more authority within the company. And I think you have a lot more opportunities to do that than you used to. So that's really important. And I'm just going to reiterate this over and over again because I say it to people over and over again. When you are in school, take these exams because the exams are really the difference between just a regular challenging profession and actual science. Because if you take away the exams in actuarial, you have just, you have a challenging profession. I mean, the work is challenging. You have to be good in math. You have to be good in a lot of things, but the exams make it different. You just don't want to go into profession and be taking exams for 25 years. And the exams are really tough. And that's why I think when you're in school, it's so good to prepare for an actual exam. Even if you prepare for just one of them, prepare for one, see what's involved. Because I get so many people that contact me, right, after being in another profession. So that maybe they were a math teacher or something, and they say, oh, I want to, and I don't really want to do math teaching anymore. There's things about it I don't like, and I've heard about the actual profession, so I want to enter the profession. And they just go online, right? And they see, oh, good starting salaries, and they see, oh, you have to pass some exams, and they go, oh, I'm good in math. They don't realize what these exams are like. These are not normal exams, and I think that's why when you're in school, do it while you're in school. Take these exams, see how challenging they are, make sure that you can pass them. And I just want to say it's really important. You might struggle initially with them. That does not mean you can't pass exams. We've had a lot of students who have contacted us, so many who struggle with P or struggle with FM, and they get down on themselves because most of us who go into the actuarial science field, we're good in math, right? And used to doing well in school, right? Most people are used to doing very well in math, right? You take a calculus exam, you do well in statistics, but you take an actual exam, you don't pass, and you get so down on yourself because you're so used to doing well in math. And even if you take it once, take it twice, you don't pass, that does not mean you cannot be successful in this profession. We've had many people have come to us who struggled initially. Maybe they took P 2 or 3 times, maybe they took FM 2 or 3 times, and you think, oh, if it's taking you that long, this profession may not be for you. But all of a sudden, they started doing great after passing P and FM. They started passing these other exams on the first sitting. And one of the reasons is because I think they learned how to prepare for these exams. These are not regular exams. You have to learn how to prepare properly for them. And once you do, a lot of times your success rate will go up a lot if you have the ability. Okay. If you have the ability, your success rate will go up a lot. I always kind of like analogize it to like running a marathon, right? You might finish a marathon. Okay. And to me, finishing is when you is running and not stopping. It's not running and walking for 10 miles and then starting up again. Okay. Finishing a marathon is actually you start and you finish and keep on running. And a lot of times people in the marathon, the first marathon, the second marathon, they hit a wall at 10 miles, 50 miles, 20 miles, and they don't finish. Or they might have to stop and then walk. But once you realize how to train properly, once you realize maybe little things like what time you had to go to sleep, what time you had to get up, when you want to do your training, when you want to do the heavy training. Once you realize how to do it and perfect it, all of a sudden you're doing great in the marathons. It's the same thing with these exams for a lot of people. They struggle in the beginning because they don't know how to properly prepare for these exams. But once you learn how to prepare for them, a lot of people all of a sudden take off. And like you would think, oh, how is it possible that you struggle with exam P, but you're passing all these, higher the later exams on the first sitting? Again, a lot of it's because you train yourself, you learn how to prepare properly for these exams. So again, I whenever I talk to schools, I bring up the exams because that's such an important part of this. You think about it. Most of you here, I'm assuming, are between 18 and 22 years old. If you go into this profession, a lot of you, while you're in the profession taking exams, are going to get married, are going to have children. Your whole life changes. You know what I mean? It's not like you're in school and you're like, well, it's a good thing I don't have any classes on Friday because I'm going to study for exam P on Friday. You come home from work as an adult and you have a family already. You have a lot of responsibilities. Plus, you got to balance exams, and then so it gets harder. Therefore, you got to learn about how to prepare for these. If you prepare properly, can you pass them? And then decide, okay, it's a long road. It's a long road. You can't kid yourself. You know what I mean? And that's why I like when I first started talking to you, I said I'm not here to sell the profession or not sell the profession. I'm here to try to give an honest viewpoint of it based on my own experiences, because I know I struggle with these exams. I always thought I was really good at math, and I am really good at math. But this is a different level. I mean, you're competing with people for these exams, or just about everybody's good in math. You know what I mean? And you have to be in that kind of higher percentile. So again, get yourself in the best position to get an internship, get yourself in the best position to get a job coming out of school, and just, learn about the exams and see if you think you're going to be able to get through them. So that's what I have to say. Now, let me say a couple other things. Number one, even while you're in school, it's always great to know about the job market. Generally, unfortunately, in today's day compared to when I was going to school, recruiters really can't help you the way they might have been in my day. Because again, my day, coming out of school, the demand for actuaries was so big that recruiters could get entry-level people jobs, right? They could get it. In today's day, companies are using recruiters to get higher, more experienced people. It's very rare that a recruiter can get an entry-level person a job. But it still is, to me, it's great to talk to people that are experts in actuarial science, the career from a job standpoint. And about maybe 5 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that, I developed a partnership with DW Simpson. So hopefully a lot of you have heard of them. And one reason why I wanted to develop a partnership was because although helping people pass exams, which is what we do at ActuaryExamTutor, is so important, it's a means to an end, right? I mean, exams are important, but the most important thing in the end is having a good job that you like, that you could excel in. And I have found my own personal experience that some of these recruiters are out there are not, they're not the greatest ones that you want to deal with. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, some of these recruiters are much more concerned with the commission they're going to get than getting the right job for you, the right fit for you. And I'm not saying like they're all like that, but there are some, in my opinion, that are like that. And one reason why I really like DW Simpson, and I got to know Patty Simpson, I met her in person a few times already, is because I really feel like they're really in it for the good of the individual. You know what I mean? The right job is so important. The right fit is so important, right? You might interview for a job and maybe you're a little bit, maybe you got laid off, the company laid people off or something. You're a little bit desperate to get a job, but you don't want to go into the wrong job. And then after 6 months, you're like, oh, I hate this. I hate this. And now what are you going to change again and again and again? And that's why it's so important to have the right fit. The right fit, you'll excel in. And so for anybody that's interested here in at least getting some really good information about the career from a job standpoint, what they're looking at upon graduating, in terms of the market, what salaries are like, maybe what salaries are like in the different divisions, again, consulting, insurance, casualty. I can set up an opportunity for you to speak with somebody there where they're gonna know you're gonna speak with them. So it's not like sending in a blind resume. And you can speak with one of the one of the people at DW Simpson, and they give you some really good information about the profession from that standpoint. I mean, they do this every day. DW Simpson's been around since 1989. So they've been around for 35 years basically. And not a lot of companies that have been around for 35 years. They've been doing the same thing. So they have a tremendous amount of experience. And I think they're very nice people. And I think they could give you some really good, guidance, let's say, while you're in school about, what to be doing while you're in school in terms of the job market. So I'll say that. Now, since I'm here, I feel like it wouldn't be fair to myself not talk about Actuary Exam Tutor a little bit. So, one thing we all know, I mean, whoever's taking exams here, I'm sure you've heard of, coaching actuaries, which has, they're very popular. Actex has been around forever. I mean, I use Actex manuals when I first started taking exams. You have TIA, you have some other companies. I say those are some of the main ones. The one thing that I want to do with Actuary Exam Tutor, which is different than the others, is that regardless of the program we offer, whether it's one-on-one, semi-private, or group programs for exams, you always have an instructor. Okay, there's always an instructor there who's an expert. I mean, these people we have absolute experts. I mean, I always tell people if you meet them for 1 hour, you'll be like, oh my God, these people are incredible, the knowledge they have. And they're just incredible at helping people prepare to pass exams. They really are. So, I mean, that's really the difference. What we do is that if you like having a little bit the traditional way of having somebody there with you who really looks like your coach, because as I tell people, I think people use these self-study resources, like let's just say coaching actuaries. I'm not saying coaching actuaries isn't good. I mean, I know, I know everybody in the profession basically. I know, I've talked to the head of coaching actuaries and Actex and stuff. But a lot of people, I think, like they'll use these self-study resources and they don't pass the exam. Like, oh my God, I can't pass. I can't pass. But I always tell people, when you are using self-study resources, although they're very important, especially from a problem, standpoint, doing a lot of problems, it's not easy to teach yourself this material. And you have to get yourself up to a certain level. And when you're teaching yourself the material, you're thinking only in the way that you think, right? You're interpreting things the way that your brain thinks. You don't have somebody there to say, oh, you see how this problem relates to this problem? Do you see how they can give this problem this way, this way, this way, this way? They go over syllabus material with you and say, do you realize that this is exactly the same as this? It's just worded differently. They could connect the dots in ways that it's almost impossible for somebody who's teaching themselves it to do. You know what I mean? And you have, with us at least, you have somebody who really, again, your coach, somebody you're accountable to. I think it kind of helps. You don't feel like you're an island by yourself studying for these exams. And somebody that could just show you so many ways of solving problems that are going to be incredibly beneficial to you during the day exam sitting. Somebody that's going to show you just how to understand the syllabus material in a way that's really going to help you the day of the exam. You have somebody really working with you. And I've always said this, and I'll ask you guys this question. If you on your first day at Michigan State University went into a class, your first class ever as a freshman, and there was no professor, and you're like, oh, where's the professor? Where's the professor? Oh no, we have no more professors anymore. We got rid of all the professors. You see that sports building we just built? That's because we're not paying professors anymore. Okay, we're saving all that money. We built this beautiful building now because we don't have to pay professors. I bet you'd be like, what do you mean no professors? So, oh yeah, we just have videos and we have this. You're just going to teach yourself it, okay? You're going to teach yourself it. I have a feeling that you guys would be disappointed, and I'm sure you tell your parents. You'd be like, you can't believe this. There's no professors, and they'd be like, what? There's no professors? Wait a minute, I'm paying $50,000 and there's no professors. You know what I mean? They would not be happy about it. So my point, I guess, I'm making is that I think a lot of people get so used to the self-study resources, they assume, oh, if I do this, I'm just going to pass. But what they don't realize is that a lot of people do not pass just using self-study resources. And people get so down on themselves when they don't pass. And what I tell people is self-study resources are important, but for many, many people, it does not get you to the finish line. And with a little help, it does get you to the finish line. So that's what we do. I mean, if people, I'll share it and I'll send it to Emily. She can share it with the group. And we do is whatever resource we have, whether it's one-on-one, semi-private, or group programs for the exams, you always have an instructor who is just an absolute expert. Most of these people are fellows and they have tremendous teaching abilities too. And they just get you to a totally different level of preparation. So that's what we do. I guess that's my speech. And does anybody have any questions for me?
I do have a question about
Sure.
exams in general. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering what's up with the kind of lower pass rates for fellowship exams than preliminary exams, because by the time someone actually is an associate of either actuarial society and gets to the fellowship exam, you would expect that they have learned a study strategy and they're probably expending a lot of resources on study material. And yet most years the pass rate is far lower for the fellowship exams, even though you only have people who have passed the preliminary or
Wait,
preliminaries,
you're saying,
preliminaries
wait,
and
the percentages are
associate.
lower the fellowship exams, you're saying? Which, can you say that again? Because I think you might have switched what you said. Which are you saying is lower?
The pass rates for the fellowship exams tend to be lower than the ones for the exams leading up to associateship.
Okay. Well, first of all, what I would assume now, I am on Cyber Actuary Exam Preparation Council now, but I'm not involved with the people who decide if you look at pass rates, they vary, right? There's no exact pass rate for the exams, right? It varies what it is on different exams. But my answer would probably be that when it comes to the fellowship exams, you have lower pass rates because they really want to make sure that you're deserving of getting that. They're not giving away those fellowship FSAs I mean, they're not giving away ASAs either, okay? But I think probably they really want to make sure that you mastered maybe to a higher level. You know what I mean? To pass. Remember something too. They're very different exams. Most of the associate exams are multiple choice for the most part, right? Not, but for the most part, they're multiple choice. Once you get to the fellowship exams, they're just essay kind of based exams. They're totally different type of exams, and I'm sure. Look, I'm sure they have reasonings why they have lower pass rates. But I would think that once you get to that point where a fellow is going to be doing certain levels of work that's critical to a company, just critical. I mean, you're making final decisions on things. You know what I mean? Which with these huge companies, and I'm sure maybe they're just that much more stringent on making sure that you really have met certain levels of expectation necessary. That I'm not there with them deciding what pass rate they're going to have. I do know, I do know that I was speaking to an individual last week who took a fellowship exam for the first time, and he was so sure that he passed, and he didn't pass. So he was, he has obviously has his associate, and he was so sure that he passed, and he didn't pass the exam. So, you know, they decide what pass rates they want to have. You know, the societies decide.
So they
So.
fix a pass rate before administering the exam, because I saw a CAS announcement that claimed that they don't fix a pass rate preemptively, that if 70% of candidates were in a sitting fully qualified, then they would let those 70% pass. But
Has there ever been a 70% pass rate?
no.
I don't, right, I don't think so. I mean, the highest, I mean, generally, I mean, from what I know, they're not gonna go above 50%, right? Generally, they're not gonna go above 50% pass rate, generally. I mean, remember, with these fellowship exams, you have like a team of people that are reviewing what they did, you know what I mean? It's not just like they have a team of people they're reviewing, and I'm sure they're very tough in terms of, meeting the expectations for those things. I mean, I can tell you one thing. My friend, okay, who I went to college with, and we used to study for the exams together at NYU. He got his ASA, and he started taking fellowship exams, and he was getting destroyed. Okay, I mean, he was just getting destroyed. So, it's a totally different type of exam, and there's so much material you need to know. You know what I mean? There's so much material. I mean, I never took a fellowship exam, but I've talked to people that have, and the amount of material that you need to have, it's just unbelievable. The amount of material that you're responsible for. And again, it's just a totally different type of exam. It's more like situations, right? Like, what do you do in the situation? You know what I mean? Like, they give you all this information, but it's also situational that you have to I think basically decide, let's say you're a manager of the department, what do you do in this situation? And there's a lot of gray area of what you do. You know what I mean? There's no black and white answers. And I guess they're very tough on what your answers are. Obviously, they're looking for certain information in your answers, but maybe the direction and everything of it, I'm sure these people are very tough. The people that are the examiners for these exams are probably very, very tough in how they're grading. I'm sure they're told to be that way too. You know what I mean? That's, it's funny. Like that's one of the, and I'll say this, actually, I want to add this. Actually, I'm glad you asked it because it's just one thing that's very different now than when I was taking exams. With the P and FM, they're each given 6 times a year, right? So if you don't pass, let's say P or FM, you take a break for a week, you get back on, and before you know it, the exam's on top of you again, right? When I first started taking the exams were only given in May and November. So if you, and you, it was pencil and paper. So you took an exam, let's say you took it in May, you did not get your results probably until July. So you didn't, if you didn't know if you passed or not, you could start studying for another exam. But if you didn't pass, now you got to start studying again. But you got a lot of time left. You know what I mean? So it was a little tough to manage, right? But with fellowship exams, they're only given once. They're only given once a year. You know what I mean? So if you don't pass a fellowship exam, think about it. If you don't pass a fellowship exam, you have a year. Can you imagine what that must be like with all that material to have to wait a year to take it again? It's challenging, very, very challenging. Like if anybody has an FSA, I mean, some people, like I knew a guy who actually did some work with us. Guy's incredible. He was taking fellowship exams while I was still in college. It's like unbelievable, this guy, but very few people are like that. You know what I mean? There's very, very few people that are like that. Most people struggle with them, but I have tremendous credit for anybody who gets an ASA or an FSA or an ACS or an FCS. I mean, it's tremendous. It's such an accomplishment. And I'm sure if any of you who have passed exams, it really is a great feeling when you pass. You really feel like you achieved something. At least I did. I really feel like I achieved something. And when we help people pass exams, it's a great feeling for me because I feel like, hey, we really helped somebody. You know what I mean? Because these exams are tough. They are tough. Have you passed exams?
I haven't taken one yet. I'm in my freshman year and I actually plan to take FM this summer.
All right, good. Good. I mean, like it's good you're starting early, I think. I think it's really benefit you. I think because again, you pass an exam or two, you apply for an internship, they like, oh, you pass an exam, you know what I mean? Like you pass an exam, it looks really good. It looks like, hey, you're really working towards it. You know what I mean? You're not just there saying, I might like actual science. You're doing something about it to show that you're really interested in it. And those internships are so good to have. First of all, you might work at the company during the summer. You love it. Oh my God, I love this place. And they're like, hey, when you graduate, we want you to work here if you're interested. That's a great feeling. That's a great feeling to have that, in your back pocket. So I haven't looked at I mean, I look at I'll actually go through a whole exam. They'll show the passes and I'll look at it. I haven't looked at it in a while, but I actually am interested. I'm gonna look at the pass rates that they've been having because see what they just look at your point about the variation between associate and fellowship exams. It's interesting.
Funny
Anybody
thing
else have a
about the
question?
CAS, I've
Mhm.
noticed is that like the exam that people seem to hate the most is exam 6, and
Six
exam
U, yeah, I
6
was just
is
gonna
the
say
least
6U,
math
yeah,
like.
6U, without a doubt. That's probably
It's all legal
that's
and
the hardest one.
regulations.
Yeah, that's definitely, you're right on the mark. None of them are, I mean, the MAS exams are tough. MAS1, MAS2 are tough. Exam 5 is tough. They're all tough, right? 6U, it seems like that's the one. It's because I think the work's so different. You know what I mean? It's so different. And there's a lot. 6U has a lot of stuff you have to learn to prepare to pass. There's a lot of material. That is a tough one. In fact, I know one of our instructors who helps me prepare for that one, he recommends starting 5 months before the exam sitting to start preparing. 5 months. He thinks, I think generally with the others, maybe 3 months. 6U he recommends starting like March, starting November. He said there's so much material you gotta learn for that exam. It's just different. That is a hard, yep, definitely. They're all hard though. They're all hard. Tell me one that's easy, please. Tell me one actual exam that's easy. I like to find it.
Exam PA.
That's not easy. That's, it's PA is an exam where it's not multiple choice, right? And I've known people that have failed it over and over again, because again, it's a judgment call on what they're providing, right? It's not multiple choice. It's a judgment call. And that's like, that's the only exam, that's the exam that's not multiple choice on the, that you're taking, that's an associate exam. And you have to kind of give them what they're looking for, right? And sometimes you don't know. And I'll tell you one thing about the PA exam, it has changed a lot over, it's not, it was go back like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and they have changed it a lot, in sittings. So it's been hard to prepare for it because you don't know exactly what you're getting. You know what I mean? There's been a lot of differences in what the exam actually is. When I never took PA, but in talking to people that have, it's been very different, okay, and what it was, let's say 2 years ago versus now. And again, that's an exam where it's not choice A, B, C, D. It's like you have to give them what they're looking for. You know what I mean? And it's not that easy to do that. And it's not, it's hard, I think multiple choice, you get the right answer, you get the right answer, right? It's very black and white. PA exam's not black and white. And I think a lot of people have problems with that. That's not black and white exam, just getting the right answer, having the right choice. So it's tough. But that was an exam they added on, SRM PA. Even now, I'm sure you're familiar with it, that if you passed STAM or LTAM, right, which was, they've changed. It used to be C and MLC. Then they changed it to STAM and LTAM. Now they just made one exam, FAM, right? Right? Fundamental Actuarial Mathematics. They made one exam. But some people had passed STAM part. Some people had passed the LTAM part. So they had like halfway passed. So what they're doing is they're saying, okay, until the July sitting, you have 2 more sittings. If you pass one half of it, you only have to take the other half. If you complete the other half, then you get credit for the whole exam. But if you don't pass by the July sitting, you have 2 more chances, March and July. If you don't pass, you have to do the whole exam. So there's a lot of pressure for people to pass that if they have one half left to go before July sitting come, before the end of July sitting. So a lot of pressure. That's what I'm saying. It's a lot of pressure with these exams. That's why I tell people, please take exams while you're in school. Learn what it's about. See what it's about. They're not easy. And then, just make sure. You don't want to come out of school and then say, oh, I didn't realize how tough these exams were. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to do that. That's not what you want to do. Because anybody who's good enough to be in actual science is smart enough to do a lot of other things. So you don't want to go into this. And then again, some people just are not good at taking exams, right? They have the ability maybe, but they're just not good at taking exams. So since exams are such a critical part of this profession, that's why I always I talk about it a lot. Just make sure that you are able to pass these exams. Just make sure. However you need to do that, just make sure that you are able to pass them. Any other questions? All right, very good. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to probably tomorrow, maybe tonight, I'm going to send you an email. So I'm going to send you 3 different emails, okay? I'm going to send an email. Hopefully, Emily, you distribute to everybody. One's going to be about if people are interested in speaking with D.W. Simpson, okay? About which I think is really good to speak with them about the career, what they're looking at. Number 2, if anybody's just interested in speaking with me one-on-one, I do these one-on-one type meetings, and I'll send an email. And if you click a link, you could schedule a meeting with me. Talk about anything about the actual profession you want. I mean, again, I enjoy talking about it. I enjoy talking about it. Hopefully, I can share some knowledge that you may not have because I've been in it a long time. And then I'm going to share an email just about our programs that we have that hopefully you can share with people. And again, if any of those 3 things that you're interested in, please do. Again, I'm here. I want to see everybody be successful in this profession if you're interested in being it. Okay. That's really, I think, my goal at the end of the day. I want people to be successful in this profession. It's a profession that you can make a good living, right? Starting salaries are good. If you could handle the work and the exams, it's a nice, secure type of job. It's a nice, secure type of career, right? There's going to be a lot of opportunities in it. So it's a nice profession to be in. Again, just as long as you can pass the exams. So, again, I think a lot of people want to go into it because they see the salary, they see the exams, and they do see that There's a lot of opportunities in actuarial science where you're going to really get to do some really interesting things if you like math. You know what I mean? You're going to really get to do some interesting things, meet some interesting people, and be involved in some really interesting stuff. So it's a nice profession to be in. All right, well, very good. So again, I'll email this later today or tomorrow. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to email me or set up a meeting with me one-on-one. I'm happy to speak with anybody who wants to speak with me. Okay?
Sounds
All
good.
right,
Thank you so much.
very good. Have a good rest of the day, okay?
Yeah, you too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for all your insights. This was super beneficial.
I was interested. I want to be interesting. I want people saying, oh, it's so boring.
Yeah,
You
it
know?
was good. It was
All
good.
right, very good. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day, okay?
You too. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.